He promised his dying father one last Thanksgiving. Then he disappeared. By the time I realized he wasn't coming back that night, it was already too late to undo what he'd done. I didn't know it yet, but the man sitting at my table, the one who raised my husband, the one with maybe months left to live, was about to teach me more about loyalty than my own husband ever had. My name is Emily. 6 years ago, I married a man I thought I knew completely. 6 years of holidays, promises, a home built brick by brick. And every single Thanksgiving, without fail, my husband Daniel's stepfather Walter came to stay with us. Walter wasn't blood. But he was the one who raised Daniel after his real father walked out. He taught him to ride a bike. He sat in the bleachers at every game. He walked Daniel down the aisle when his own mother couldn't. So when Walter got sick, the kind of sick doctors only whisper about Daniel made him a promise. "You'll spend your last Thanksgiving with us, I swear it." That morning, I woke up early, the way I always did on holidays. I kissed Daniel's forehead. He mumbled something about grabbing cranberry sauce from the store. I didn't think twice. I should have. By noon, Walter arrived in a wheelchair, thinner than I'd ever seen him, but smiling, searching the room for his boy. "He'll be here," I told him. I believed it myself. By 2 o'clock, I'd called Daniel 4 times. Straight to voicemail. By 4, the turkey was ready, the table was set for 3, and Walter's smile had quietly started to fade into something else, something that looked a lot like a man realizing he'd been forgotten. By 6, I was feeding a dying man his dinner with my own hands, cutting his turkey into small pieces because his fingers shook too badly to hold a knife. Laughing at his old stories about Daniel as a boy while inside, something in me was breaking apart, piece by piece. Daniel didn't come home until almost 11 that night. And when he finally walked through that door, avoiding my eyes, refusing to explain where he'd really been, I had no idea that single moment was about to unravel everything I thought I knew about my marriage, about loyalty, and about the man I called my husband. What happened next changed all 3 of our lives forever. "Where were you?" I asked him in the hallway, keeping my voice calm even though my chest felt like it was caving in. "Work stuff." "It's complicated," Daniel muttered, not meeting my eyes. "Your stepfather flew across the country to see you. He's dying, Daniel, and you left me to explain why his own son couldn't show up." He rubbed his face like I was the unreasonable one. "You wouldn't understand." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But there was something in his voice I'd never heard before, not guilt, not sadness. Fear. It took 3 more weeks for me to understand why. I found it by accident, scrolling through a shared cloud account we'd set up years earlier for family photos. A name I didn't recognize. Messages I wish I could unsee. Daniel hadn't been handling work stuff. He'd been building an entire second life with a woman named Renee, a life that had started months before that Thanksgiving. A life full of plans, hotel confirmations, whispered promises. One message from that very week stopped my heart cold. "I can't keep pretending everything is normal with her. I'll tell her soon. I promise." He had chosen her over his dying stepfather. over 6 years of a marriage I thought was real, over me. I didn't scream. I didn't throw his clothes onto the lawn like the woman in old movies might have. I closed the laptop, sat perfectly still, and let the truth settle into my bones like cold water sinking to the bottom of a glass. But what I didn't know that day was how much that quiet moment would change me. Something shifted inside me, permanent, unshakable. The woman who used to make excuses for him was gone. In her place stood someone clearer, someone who understood that grief for a marriage and grief for a person could arrive at the exact same time, and that both deserved honesty, not more hiding. I thought about Walter, sitting alone at that table, still hoping his boy might walk through the door. And I thought, he deserves the truth too. We all do. Until everything changed, the moment I decided the truth wasn't mine to hide anymore. I didn't confront Daniel with anger. I confronted him with evidence. I printed every message. I gathered every date, every hotel receipt his careless second life had carelessly left behind. And then I waited, not for the moment that would hurt Daniel most, but for the moment that mattered most to Walter. He'd asked me, gently, more than once, why Daniel seemed so distant. He deserved the truth from someone who loved him enough not to protect a lie. So one quiet afternoon, sitting beside his hospital bed, I told him everything. Walter's hand found mine, thin and trembling. "You were more of a daughter to me than he's ever been a son," he said softly. And in that moment, something in me finally began to heal. 3 days later, Walter changed his will, not out of anger, he told me out of love. The family cabin, the one Daniel always assumed would be his, now belonged to me. "You were the one who was there," Walter said simply. When Daniel found out both about the will and about what I now knew, he tried everything. Apologies, tears, promises that Renee meant nothing. But I had already stopped needing his explanations. I filed for divorce 2 weeks later, walking away with my dignity fully intact. Walter passed away that spring. I sat beside him until the very end, holding the hand that had carried me through the darkest season of my life. Daniel wasn't there. He'd lost that privilege the day he chose to disappear. People sometimes ask if I regret how it all unfolded, the divorce. The fallout once friends learned the truth, the family who had to choose sides. I always tell them no. Because that Thanksgiving taught me something I still carry with me. The people who truly love you show up, especially when it's hard, especially when no one is watching. I didn't get revenge by destroying Daniel. I got it by refusing to disappear the way he did. I stayed. I showed up. I became the person Walter always believed I was. And in the end, that was the only justice I ever needed.